Miss Felicia Simpson. How are you? I was sitting here, this is such a serious topic, and a lot of us women don't realize how serious domestic violence are. So first of all, tell me real briefly the name of your organization.
The name of my organization is Honeymoon Foundation. We were incorporated March 2011, and we have been growing and doing a lot of community service work, getting the word out about Honeymoon, letting people know who are victims, that there is another story, that you can start a new life. You don't always have to be a victim. You too can cross over to being a survivor, which I am.
Okay. So let's talk about what actually made you want to start an organization like that.
At the time that I was trying to get out of my marriage, being with the abuser, I wasn't working. I was dependent on him, and so when I decided to leave, I needed to do something to fill that void, do something to fill that time. And so somehow I connected with an organization, Coalition for Abused Women and Children. They had a volunteer program that if you did 40 hours of training, you can volunteer at their shelter. And so I had never heard of the words domestic violence. I was just trying to do something to pass by time, keep my mind occupied. And I got educated while being in that training. And so with the education, it brought on me articulating, the problems that I was facing. It was kind of like therapy for me, basically. So with the training, I got therapy, and then I just one day decided to write an email to a couple of friends and said that I wanted to do an organization of my own. I felt like I had a few followers or, people that looked up to me, so.
Well, you were able. So tell me, what was your experience actually? What happened?
With domestic violence, I basically got into the situation.
So you were married?
Yes. The relationship, and then we got married, basically. I basically just came home from school. I was the only one, I would say, in like a 4-block radius in my neighborhood that went away to college. And so I had, lived with both mom and dad. I was the good girl, got good grades, went away to school. And then I came home and I saw the difference between being at school. You got to work hard, you got to study, you don't have as much money or access to money as those that I saw in my neighborhood who, to me at the time, looked like they were just living a lifestyle. They wasn't working, all the girls had dope dealer boyfriends. And so that's what I saw at the age of, I think, 24. And so that's what I wanted. I didn't look at him to say, oh, he's cute, I'm interested in him. It was just a plot for me to have a dope dealer at the time. Does that make sense? No. So when I met him, we began dating. It was a challenge at first because from my knowledge, he was coming out of a relationship. And so I would guess I would be the rebound girl. And he had so much frustration and anger in him from previous relationships, previous issues in his life. He started doing other things that he normally wouldn't do, such as drinking. He was never a drinker. So time just went on.
So was this after you all got married? He started drinking?
No, this was during a relationship. We were married for 2.5 years. We almost made 3, but we got divorced. So the relationship was from 2004 to 2007. We got married in 2007. So during 2004 to 2007, we were just dating.
So you noticed that he started drinking? And
well into the relationship. He started drinking. He had other social problems, social injustice problems. Being a drug dealer, you're always in jail or out of jail or on your way to jail. You got to watch your back, stuff come up. And so he had a lot of pressures in life that he never dealt with from the past, and then those new injustices that added. So that's what, to me, led to the drinking, and it became addictive for him. And so he was the type of abuser that if he was sober, you have no problem out of him. But once he drinks, you don't know what you're going to walk into. He was very remorseful after any incidents happened. Still to this day, he's very remorseful. People think that, you have to hide or go crawl under a rock. My former abuser knows everything about me. I don't hide anything. He knows about my foundation. He knows all about the book that I've written about us. He was at my book signing. So we don't communicate because that's what's best for us, but I'm not living in fear.
Okay, so what was some of the things that you actually experienced physically?
Oh, physical abuse. I've experienced a broken nose. If I take my glasses off, I was hit in the nose with a Corona bottle. One night just arguing. I don't know if I was the intended target, but he was mad and threw a bottle and it hit my nose. I had to have a brace on my nose. Other physical signs, I've been hit in my eyes so many times that my eyes are permanently black, and that's why I don't wear makeup anymore, because I used to wear it to cover up the black eyes, the bruises, the scars.
So the first time that this actually physically started happening to you, what were you thinking? I mean, were you at the time just constantly, because you say that he would come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. So what were you thinking at the very beginning when you first started experiencing it?
I'm sorry, the roses and things like that in domestic violence, that's known as the honeymoon stage. And so a person that abuses you, they learn you, they study you, because they want to have manipulation and control over you. And so the I'm sorry, you take into a whole consideration of the person who they are. You fall in love with that person, you fall in love with the characteristics. So the first time something happens, which usually is not on the first date, is usually months later when the physical part starts. So by that time, you're madly in love. Okay. And so you so quick to say, okay, it's not going to happen again. He says he's sorry. And then time goes on again, then you start having kids together. Oh, I can't, have him locked up. We have kids together. It goes to the isolation. Typically, the abuser holds all the money. So if you put him out the house, there goes all the money. There go dad out the house. So it's more of he's my security blanket. And with abusers and victims, the language or lingo, most victims say physical abuse, that'll heal. That scar, that bruise, that black eye, that'll go away in 2 months. But emotional abuse and the verbal abuse, that's what stays forever. That's what we always remember.
Exactly.
Any triggers that we see in a movie where they said the same thing the abuser said, that's what always lasts.
Always lasts. So after, so actually he started physically abusing you before you all got married, right?
Way before.
So what led you to want to still
pursue the relationship? We had started going to marriage counseling. We had separated a few times.
Wait, you went to marriage counseling? Wait a minute, I'm talking about before. What?
Right,
before you got married.
Right, before you get married in the church, you have to go to marriage counseling.
Okay.
And so he had started coming to church every Sunday. Did he like coming to church? No. That should have been a sign. But he was doing it to keep me, because I was I'm fed up, I'm ready to leave. I'm going to do anything she wants me to do not to leave. Those are considered the honeymoon stages. Right. And so he would come to church, but as soon as we get home, the fight breaks out. Or before church start, there's an argument to keep me from wanting to go to church. Anything that I wanted to do outside of him, there was always a conflict. And so with getting married, I thought, things would change. You know how most women feel that way. Oh, well, if we get married, it'll change. This problem I have will go away. And so we had started working on getting married. Even on my marriage day, the day I got married, people were coming to me, family members, friends. You don't have to do this.
So they had already knew that you all were.
I used to lie to cover it up. Like when my nose was broke, I think I told my parents we went paintballing and I just got hit in the nose.
So your nose was broke before you got married to him, or after?
Yes, it was before.
Are you serious?
Yes. That was the first incident. That was the first physical act, which led to a multitude of others. To me, I always tell people the first act is to see what you will or won't do. And so when you accept it and go back to them, that lets them know that there's plenty more to come. I can get away with more.
So you saying the first time it ever happened you should just walk away and not turn back. Don't even listen.
I would always say the first physical act was a line of other emotional and verbal abuse that led to physical, because no one that's an abuser punches you on the first date. They do little things to see your reaction, to see what they can get away with. Domestic violence is the use of power and control in a relationship. Some people just use manipulation. My body language and my facial expression could be a threat. I don't never have to hit you. But if I feel like I can use that to intimidate you, then that's what I'll do as an abuser. And so with so many women, we...
So saying that, again, you don't have to physically touch someone to actually be abusing them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. You can just for a quick example, for a gesture, you can just do like this. Put your hand, pat your pocket. And it could be a pair of scissors in your pocket. But a victim would think that's a gun. If I told you multiple times, I'm going to kill you. If you leave this house, I'm going to kill you. And I'm a man. I could be taller than you, shorter than you. But if I use enough authority in my voice and I use enough post actions to that threat, I might show you a gun. I might lay the gun on the table and say, go ahead, walk out the door.
Okay.
You know, go ahead. You think you finna take my kids? Go ahead, walk out the door. I could threaten you with DCFS. If you're very spiritual, I could threaten you with the church. You know, you're not gonna be the pastor's wife. You're not gonna be the deaconess. You know, you on the usher board. They're gonna look at you strange if they don't see me walking to church. And women, we're nurturers. We're so emotional that we listen to that. And for so long of listening to things like that, you start to believe it. And so when people say, or society says, well, why don't she just leave? Why don't she just act like Medea and throw the grits on them and just, you know, leave? Or I would never let a man do it. You don't know what you would do and won't do in that situation.
Exactly.
Right. Because you think survival.
So you say you actually told your parents that you was paintballing when this first
I made up
incident.
excuses for him, yes. A lot of excuses. A lot of people knew what was going on.
How did they know? They
saw the scars that I might have on my neck when I came. I'll give an example for church. I was deeply in the church when I was going through the situation because I was hurt. Where do people go? You know, when they hurt, they go to church, most of them. And so I sought out the church for help. And once I finally, one Sunday, I think I was so scared to go home because I didn't know what he was going to do to me that day. I rounded up, you know.
So had he been drinking or something before?
Always. Again, if he was sober, I never had a problem out of him. He was the best husband, great father, very supportive of my dreams. But whenever he had a drink too much, you know, he exploded. He didn't just explode on me, he exploded on other people, his family, his peers. So I got probably the end of the night result. They just got the lashing out. And so with me.
So had you ever tried to let's go back to you still married him after being physically.
Yes.
And I want to specify this because again, a lot of times women don't realize that this can get worse. And that was something we were talking about before the show started. And it can get worse, and it can also end to you actually losing your life.
Right.
So what you say you all started doing marriage counseling before you all got married, okay?
That was the requirement of the church. I'm African American Episcopal Zion Church, and so that's one of the requirements for one of our ministers to, you know, do the ceremony. You have to go through a series of marriage counseling. And so we talked about things, clergy at my church, you know, various church members, they knew what was going on. But again, you could tell a victim so many times, you need to leave him alone. You need to leave him alone. But until that victim sees that for themselves, they're not going to leave. Stats say a woman will leave an abuser at the minimum of 7 times. So you could tell a victim 12 times. She still might stay. You know, she knows her situation better than you. I always tell people that's victims, create safety plans, create safety words, you know, with your friends. If you're a friend of a victim, don't just blow them off. Anytime they come to you, it's a new situation. You might have pamphlets, brochures, the quickest domestic violence.
What do you mean a new situation? Far as
each time that incident happens, it's considered new.
Okay.
Because it might not be the same as last time. Like last time, he might have just slapped you. This time, he might slap you plus punch you, plus kick you. So it's just like you can't look at it as, oh, this is normal. This is something, you have to look at each situation for what it is. You have to be aware of the victim, the place that they're in. They know that person. Mm-hmm. You're on the outside looking in saying what you should do, but they're living in the situation, so they know.
So before you actually married him, that means you were already afraid of him.
Oh,
before.
yes, very, very, very.
Really?
Very, very.
Did you feel like you had to marry him, or were you scared and that's why you did it?
No, not that. There was I call it a grace period. There was a time where I had to always walk around on eggshells. You never know when you turn the key what you were walking into. You didn't know if that person behind the door was sober, drunk, mad at the world, not mad at the world. So you always said a little prayer before you walk in the door, and then you just walk into whatever's there. And so during a couple of months before we got married, everything was beautiful. Mm-hmm. There might have been an argument, but it wasn't an argument that escalated to a fight. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that was change. Not being educated on domestic violence, not knowing that there's this honeymoon stage, there's a tension, mm-hmm. stage. Not being educated is mm-hmm. what kept me going. Every time he said he was sorry, oh, okay, I believe you're sorry. Because he shed tears. He felt so remorseful. I got flowers and, shopping sprees. I used to have an allowance. Mm-hmm. Anytime you hit me, you had to pay me. Mm-hmm. I got to go get my nails done, my hair done. Those things that at the time mattered to me, you was going to fund that. And so I wasn't aware that I was enabling him to abuse me. And I always tell victims, you can blame the abuser, but at some point you have to take responsibility.
So you had got to a point that you was used to, okay, he going to smack me around a couple of times, but he also going to mm-hmm. pay me my money, yep. mm-hmm. and then I'm going to go get fly.
Yep. And we're going to go out on the town and have a nice night. And it's probably going to end in a chaos or a fight, but just for the few hours we got, we're going to spend it together. Yep.
So did you ever fight back?
No. I've never had a fight, so fighting wasn't my mannerism. I always balled up, I just wanted it to be over. I think I always hear the incident, everybody always relate with domestic violence, Chris Brown and Rihanna. And mm-hmm. if you listen to her interviews, she always say, at that time, I just wanted it to stop. And that's what most victims want. They don't want the man gone out the house. They don't want to go live in a shelter. They don't want the divorce. They just want, at that moment, for the situation to stop.
Mm-hmm. So this situation that you were in, now, was it a case of, what triggered him? Even if he, mm-hmm. even when he was drunk, had been mm-hmm. drinking, what actually triggered him? What was some of the things that you would say to mm-hmm. trigger?
In recent years, I found out that his mom passed away when he was 15, and so he wasn't a spiritual religious leader or nothing like that, so he blamed God for the death of his mom. He had a lot of baggage in him. Mm-hmm. He had to take care of himself at an early age, look out for his siblings had to look out for each other. Mm-hmm. And so that's what led to the dope world for him. Okay. Being on the streets, you always got to watch your back. You don't trust nobody. And so he never trusted women. Did I know most of this? Some of it, not most of it. And then in recent years, I had never seen a picture of his mother unless it was the obituary in his mm-hmm. father's house. And so he recently, I would say in the last 3 to 4 years, told me I look like his mother. Mm-hmm. He always treated me as if I was his mother. He holds his mothers to a high standard. He says that she never drank, smoked, but then you'll have certain family members that says she did. She snuck and did it. Mm-hmm. But to him, she never did it. My mother was like a saint. And mm-hmm. so he held me to that standard. She's very light like I am. Mm-hmm. Very pretty woman. She had long hair. I cut my hair. I do different things with my hair. So I treated him as a kid, just like a mother would. Don't do this. You shouldn't do this. Stop doing this. You know what happens when you do this. And so my mom even told me that, you don't treat him like a man. You treat him like a child.
So what I'm saying is when he would come in, mm-hmm. what would actually trigger him to just want to hit you? Or
it would be something from out in the streets. Being a dope dealer, anything could happen. It could be the police chased him that day. It could be,
but what would you say to him?
It could be nothing. He could just walk in the house and just explode. It wouldn't. You could hear him coming up the stairs. That's when you know what kind of situation is about to happen. You will hear him outside.
So you had got so used to the sound, the movement, the body reaction.
Yeah, you knew when you saw red eyes, when you saw the music blasting as he pulled up. Once he turned the music off, you would hear him hollering and cursing. And you knew, okay, this about to be one of those nights. He would just walk in the door.
You wouldn't say nothing to him?
Because I knew what kind of night it was going to be. So I think at the time was just basically preparing my body for the fight. I wouldn't fight back. I wouldn't say anything extra, of course, because he's already, angry. And so anything that I say
So would you try to get out his way? Would you?
Probably so. But if I try to get out his way, it would be, why you not talking to me? If anything that you do, that's why I said the walking on eggshells, anything you do. You could simply just go to the bathroom, and it would be, why you going to the bathroom all of a sudden? You've been here all this time, so as soon as I walk in the door, you just going to go to the bathroom? It's anything. You could just sit and be still and be quiet and don't say nothing. The abuser will pick something out of that.
So after do you all have children?
Yes, we have one. Before we got married and got together, I had 2 children prior to our relationship. Both of the oldest 2, father and him, they know each other. They both live around each other. They're from rival gangs. They kind of went to school together in elementary. Did I think about all that when I dated them? No. When I had kids? No. So they basically, the first father told me I wasn't never going to be nothing because I had 2 kids. Wasn't no man going to want me. And then he came along and became the total opposite.
So basically you saying now at this point you were actually verbally abused by the first?
The first one. The first one told me I was never going to be anything. I had 2 kids. Wasn't no man going to want me. He was like the first love of my life. I always said when I had kids, it would be by him. He had other children outside our relationship. That didn't matter to me at the time. I was just, determined to have his kid. So we had one, then another one popped up, and then